The first impression videos are coming thick and fast this month because there is a lot of new shoes coming out and hitting the shelves. So in today's video, we are taking a look at the new Pulsar Trail Pro from Salomon. But this is no ordinary Pulsar Trail Pro. It is a collaboration between Salomon and one of my other favorite brands, Ciele Athletics. Now, I know the look of this shoe isn't going to be to everybody's liking, but I love the design. I love the fact both shoes are slightly different with a different coloured toe bumpers, and I just think it looks super cool. Now, we all know that we should never buy a running shoe on looks alone, so I've kind of broken one of my very important running shoe rules, but I just couldn't help myself. I love the look of the shoe so much. So let's jump into the video and find out if this Pulsar Trail Pro runs as good as it looks. Welcome back YouTube, I'm Lloyd Purvis and this is Run4Adventure. Hope everybody is fit and well out there and training hard. If you're new to the channel, then welcome and thanks for watching, it's really appreciated. But don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It only takes a second to do and it is completely free. But don't forget to hit that bell icon as well so you'll be notified when we upload any new content. So the plan for today's video is to give you a few facts and figures and a bit of information about this new plated trail running shoe from Salomon, and then we are going to be taking them out for their first run. But we're going to do it a little bit different in today's video. So it's not just going to be out for a training run, we're actually going to be using them in a race. Now, like I just mentioned, this isn't the standard version of the shoe. This is the limited edition collaboration with Ciele Athletics. The standard version isn't actually going to be out in the UK until the end of July, and I really didn't want to wait that long to test these shoes out, so I went for this version. Now, I know that the colorway is not going to be to everybody's liking, so don't worry, the standard version is a bit more subdued and a bit more subtle, but I love the way this limited edition shoe looks. The Pulsar Trail Pro retails in the UK for £160, so it is quite an expensive trail running shoe, and I'm pretty sure it is Salomon's first attempt at a plated trail shoe. I'm happy to say they've opted for a TPU plate in that midsole and not a carbon fibre plate like a lot of the brands are doing. I've got to be honest, I'm not a massive fan of a carbon plate in a trail running shoe. I think it can be a bit too stiff and a bit too rigid, especially when you're running in sort of technical areas, and I'm just not sure whether we need that level of stiffness and rigidity in our trail running shoes. Weight wise, it comes in at 270 grams in a men's UK 10, and it runs off a 6mm heel offset. So we've got 33mm on the heel and 27mm under your forefoot. Upper design, it is what we call a booty construction. So you've got no sort of standard tongue in the upper. It's like a one-piece elasticated sock design. So you should feel very connected and really nicely locked down around the midfoot when you're in the upper. You get a little bit of padding down the center of that tongue area just to give the top of your foot a bit of protection from the Salomon quick lace system, but it is still pretty minimal. We've got some little sort of cushioning pods around that heel just for a bit of extra comfort, but also lockdown. And because the upper design is quite soft, we've also got some overlays working down from the heel around the lace eyelets and the midfoot, just for a bit of substance, a bit of structure, but also a bit of added durability. And then we get a nice level of protection from the orange toe bumper or the pink toe bumper. And then finishing off that design, we've got some nice Ciele Athletics detailing. Working our way down to the exciting midsole design, and we have a full energy surge compound midsole, which is actually constructed using a combination of EVA and olefin to give you that nice light, responsive, long-lasting, bouncy ride. I was a massive fan of the Energy Surge compound midsole on the Ultra Glide, so really happy to see that they've carried it across to the Pulsar Trail Pro. We've got quite an aggressive sort of rocker geometry on there as well, and you can actually see the energy blade poking out of the midsole construction there. The number one job of that blade is propulsion and running economy, but it sits down quite low in that construction, so I'm pretty sure it also offers a good level of sort of underfoot protection when you're running on rocky trails. And finally, onto the bottom of the shoe, and Salomon have opted for their all-terrain Contour-Grip outsole to offer you good levels of traction and grip on a big mix of different terrains and varying weather conditions. It looks like they've gone for a 4mm lug depth, So not a bad depth. I think it might struggle a bit, say in the midst of a UK winter in really muddy conditions, but I think it's going to handle everything else really well. And I almost forgot, the Pulsar Trail Pro doesn't come with your sort of standard shoelace. So you get Salomon's quick lace system. So we've got this cord, and then we've got this little plastic housing that slides down and locks into place, and then you tuck that all the way into the tongue pocket. I am very happy to report that the tongue pocket design is a lot better than that terrible pocket on the Ultra Glide. So it should be a lot easier to stow those laces away. So there you have it, one of my most anticipated trail running shoes of the year, and I have been itching to get these on my feet and take them running. Having been ill for a couple of weeks, I've just had to be really patient, but today is the day. Like I said, first impressions review with a difference. So I am gonna grab my kit, grab the shoes, and we are taking the Pulsar Trail Pros racing, and fingers crossed everything goes all right. You join me out on the Southwest Traverse route, and don't worry, I'm definitely not running the whole thing with the way I've been feeling after being ill. We are just running the last section as a 3-man relay. I thought it would be the perfect test for the Pulsar Trail Pro for its first run. 15 miles of very varied terrain. So we've just done 3.5 miles on the road. We picked up the coast path again. It's super overgrown, as you can see. Pretty tricky. And when I said we're going racing, I loosely went racing. I'm not racing, I'm just going out for a steady run, but it is a race. But so far, when it comes to the shoe, it feels pretty awesome. Haven't run a step in it until today. Soaked up that road section really nice. The cushioning, I'd say it's a little bit firmer than the Ultra Glide. Feels like it's giving lots of rebound. Grip good so far. And I'm also glad I went up to a 10, so up half a size, because in true Salomon style, a 9.5 would have been too small. But yeah, so far really good. And we got about 11 miles to go, so I'll give you an update in a minute. Enjoy the views. Right, a 10-mile shoe update. So we just ticked through 10 miles. We're just heading to the Minack now. Big set of steps to go up, but only about 5 miles to go. A pretty epic test for a shoe straight out of the box, but I've got to stop. Look at that view. How good would it be in the beach there, swimming in the sea? Looks incredible. But yeah, so far so good. Really like the geometry of the midsole. That rocker, when you get that sort of ultra pace, you know, just steady running pace, it feels super efficient. This is maybe not the best place to be talking to the camera, super technical, but yeah, super efficient when it comes to the rocker. Level of cushioning feels really good as well. So yeah, definitely liking the Pulsar Trail Pro so far. But 5 miles to go, let's get to that finish line. So we have made it back to the finish line of the Southwest Traverse. A good challenging 15.5 miles in the new Salomon trail shoe. So I think the best thing we can do is go back to the studio and break down the performance in a bit more detail. We are all showered and changed and feeling a lot fresher now. It did get pretty hot out there towards the end of my leg. I really didn't know what to expect today, to the point where I was considering not running in the race. Just with how I've been feeling after being ill, I didn't know whether it would be a sensible idea, and all things considered, my body actually coped with it okay, and I felt pretty good out there on the route. We made it to that finish line and we got a nice shiny medal for our troubles. And believe it or not, we even managed to come third place in the male relay teams. I'm not really sure how that happened. I've got to be honest, I think it was because the other lads ran really quick. But, you know, great to be part of the team. And like I say, we took third place. I had the cameras with me all day from the start of the race all the way to the finish, so there will be a full Southwest Traverse race day video coming to the channel very soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But let's get back to the first impressions. The first thing I have to say is the last 15 miles of the Southwest Traverse is extremely challenging. You know, if you've run the race or the Classic Quarter, then you'll know exactly what I mean. And I think it was a pretty tough challenge for, you know, a brand new shoe straight out of the box to run that kind of distance on that type of terrain. I think a much more sensible option would be just a nice steady 10k, not in race conditions. But you know, I've run in lots of shoes, I continue to run in lots of shoes, and I'm used to doing that. And the Pulsar Trail Pro handled it really well. So we're going to run through all the highlights first, and then we're going to talk about a few issues that I had out on today's run. But the first thing I really want to talk about is midsole performance, because it was very impressive out there today. So the section that I was running starts with about 4 miles of tarmac before you get to the coast path, and this energy surge compound and that rocker geometry felt spot on. I'm not sure whether the energy surge compound is a slightly different blend to what Salomon used in the Ultra Glides, but it does feel slightly different. It feels a little bit firmer underfoot, but firmer in a good way. So felt like I was getting a lot more sort of bounce feedback, a bit more energy return, not as squishy soft as the compound in the Ultra Glide. So yeah, ran really well on that road section and still managed to feel very comfortable underfoot. Similar story when it comes to that rockered geometry. I think Salomon have got it just right. I was taking it super steady today, and the shoe felt very, very efficient at that sort of ultra distance kind of tempo when you're just bobbing along, and it honestly felt like I could have sort of held that pace all day. With my current fitness levels, I'm pretty sure I couldn't hold that pace all day, but the rocker definitely made me feel like I could. I didn't really pick up a lot from that energy blade in the midsole, apart from the fact that it seemed to offer good underfoot protection on the rocky sections of trail that I ran, and it didn't feel too stiff and rigid, which, you know, has to be a good thing considering it was his first run. The sock-like upper made me feel very connected to the shoe, really well held around that midfoot and in the heel. That lightweight, breathable construction felt great in those hot conditions, and it definitely got pretty toasty out there, so a great test when it comes to breathability. And lastly, good levels of protection from that toe bumper, which actually saved me a couple of times in the race. There's some very technical rocky sections in the Southwest Traverse, and I managed to stub my toes several times, and I think without that level of toe bumper, I'd have probably ended up with a big black toenail. This is why I look for this feature in my trail running shoes all the time. So thanks very much for the protection toe bumper. You can see lots of positives on their first outing, and it was definitely a big ask for a new shoe. But there were a couple of issues that occurred during the race, and the first one was probably my fault. I was dashing around in transition when I changed over with Rob. I pulled those quick laces down nice and tight, probably a little bit too tight. So after about 5 miles, I had to stop and sort of adjust those laces just to take a bit of tension out of them. And once I'd done that, it seemed to settle down. But on closer inspection, when I felt inside the upper, the stitch into the eyelets here is quite raised and quite rough, and there's no padding in that section of the shoe whatsoever. Now, it only happened in one spot, and these things can happen when you're running in a shoe for the first time. And I'm hoping that as I put more miles into it, it's going to soften up, bed in, and everything will be fine. But we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on that, and then we'll report back in our full in-depth review. The only other thing comes down to the outsole, and the Contigrip rubber actually handled everything really well. So the tarmac, the rocky sections, the wet rock, and even the boggy, muddy sections that I had to run through, no problems at all. But there was a couple of times when I had to sort of run down some steep technical descents towards the end, and where it's been pretty hot down here in Cornwall, it was quite dusty and quite loose, and I wasn't fully convinced in the level of traction that these lugs gave me. It wasn't terrible, it didn't fall over or slip over or anything like that, but I did have to take it steady and take my time, and I wasn't fully confident in that traction. So again, this is something that we're going to be looking closely at as we put more miles into the shoe. So a couple of issues there, but all in all, I think the Pulsar Trail Pro actually handled a very challenging first run really well. We're obviously going to be putting a lot more miles in the shoe over the coming weeks, and that's going to give us a much better idea if they are just sort of small teething issues or they're going to turn into much bigger problems. I really hope they do all settle down because the midsole performance has been brilliant. I've left a link in the description below if you want to find out any more information about the Pulsar Trail Pro, and I'd love to hear your feedback, guys. So if you've got hold of a pair and you've done some good miles in it, how are you finding the performance? Have you had any issues with the stitching from the eyelets, and how do you find the level of traction from that outsole? Let us know all about it in the comments below. Don't forget, guys, if you've enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really does help us out. It makes a big difference and it is greatly appreciated. If you didn't watch our last review on some new sport headphones from Ico, it's definitely worth checking out because there is a competition running until the 30th of June where you could get your hands on a nice new shiny pair of running headphones. So again, I've left a link for that video down below in the description. We've got lots of great content coming your way, including our first impressions on the new Nike Pegasus Trail 4. There has been lots of updates made to this shoe and it feels so much lighter than the previous version. Is this going to be the Nike trail running shoe that actually impresses me and that can handle British conditions? I don't know whether it is, but we are going to be giving it its first run very, very soon on the channel. But for now, guys, thanks for watching. It's always appreciated. We'll be back here very, very soon. And as always, stay safe and keep on running. So there it is, one of my most anticipated trail running shoes of the year. And I have been itching to get these on my feet and to take them running. And to take them running? What's that? I've been itching to get them on my feet and take them running. Come on, Lloyd.